All right, so I'm back with episode 2 of season 2 of Cloak and Dagger. The episode was titled White Lines. I'm like, when the episode opened up, I'm like, oh, white lines, a line of cocaine. Interesting. I see you, Marvel. I see you. I definitely see you. So let's go ahead and just get started with the episode. So the episode picks up where the last one just left off with Tyrone and Tandy in the club, and we see a man. He's dying, and he's in a puddle of blood, and with the cocaine, he's creating a symbol, and I'm like, interesting. As you die, you creating a symbol instead of probably trying to say who maybe in the cocaine sketch someone's name, initials, anything to let them know who killed you, but that's neither here nor there. So then we see Tyrone. He gets the recording device, and Tandy is like, let's go, but Tyrone is saying no. So then we see O'Reilly. She shows up, and we find out that they called O'Reilly. And she tells them, because Tyrone is telling her about the drug meeting. She's like, I know about that because we set this up to combat the drug war that you started, the gang war that you started. So then O'Reilly takes the recorder from them, and she tells them, you know what, get the hell out of here before I arrest both of y'all asses. Like, I don't have time for this shit. Get the hell out. So then we see Tyrone and Tandy. They're leaving. Tyrone is blaming himself, but Tandy's like, no, don't blame yourself. Like, blame the people, because the people that are doing the drugs, they're gonna find a way to get the drugs. No matter how many drugs you take or how many you take out, these people are still going to find a way to get the drugs, which that is true, unfortunately. All right, so then we see Tyrone. He goes to visit Evita's aunt, and he's asking Evita's aunt about that symbol that the man drew in his death with the cocaine, and she explains to him what it means. She says it belongs to the death Evoa. I think that's what she said. I don't know too much about voodoo, so I can't really say a lot about it. So then she says, the guy either wanted justice or he wanted to be guided from this life to the next life. And then, she's just talking to him about prayer. And Tyrone is like, he was knocking prayer. She's like, you're not going to do that in my presence, little boy. You believe in prayer. You believe in it. So then, she's like, well, what's going on with you? And he's talking about how, he's trying to fix things, but everything he tries to fix, he ends up fucking it up, basically. And then we see Evita. She shows up, and Evita's like, wait a minute, where the hell did you come? Oh no, I got to go. So Evita's upset because for 8 months she hasn't known anything about him, if he was alive, where he was. And she felt like even if he could have said something to her, she felt like maybe he would have said something to her. But it's been 8 months and brother man ain't been nowhere to be found. So then they're talking about the cops, and she's like, but you're in broad open daylight, like you could get caught right now. He's like, I can't get caught. And she's like, why not? So he pulls Evita to the side, and he shows her that he can teleport. And she's like, I know goddamn well you lying. Like, you can do that and you haven't come to see me? Oh, no. You got to be joking with me right now. Like, you can do that bullshit, but you have not come to see me. Bye, Tyrone. By Tyrone. Okay, so then we see Tyrone. He has recreated this symbol, and he's doing what Evita's aunt said, to pray. So he's just sitting there, and then out of nowhere he teleports, and he's in the back of an ambulance where Michaela is shackled to a stretcher. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then you can see a big shotgun up there where the guys are who are driving this thing. So then, she's asking Tyrone to help me. So Tyrone is trying to help her, but, he's being a little bit loud. And, the guys turn around and like, hey, who are you? And boom, shoot. But he teleports himself out back to his hideout. And I'm like, wait a minute. What the hell just happened here? But I think Tyrone was also trying to get her out of there by teleporting. But he doesn't have the capability at this point to teleport anyone else but himself. So I was like, oh shit, that's gonna end badly for her. Huh. Okay, so next scene, I was kind of confused. I'm like, wait a minute, are we going? I'm like, did I just start the episode over again? Because we see Tandy and Tyrone back at the club, and we see them when they were leaving, and the conversation that they had with one another. And I'm like, wait a minute, what the hell is going on? Like, I didn't catch it. So then we get a present tense of Tandy. We see her; she's in a group meeting, and we see Michaela there. So Michaela is talking about how she's back with her boyfriend, and him wanting her to move back in. And Tandy's like, wait a minute, that is complete bullshit. Like, he hits you, And then she tells her, you need to fucking leave his ass. That's what the hell you need to do, is leave that motherfucker. He's no good for you. But again, Tandy, what did I just say before? She will leave when she's ready to leave, not a minute sooner and not a minute later. Like, she has to want to leave. You can, like I said, you can, as the old saying go, you can guide a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You just put that out there in the universe for you. So then we see Tandy and her mom talking, and her mom is just going off on her like, the same thing that I'm saying. Yes, she's in a fucked up position in her life, but she's only gonna get help when she feels that she needs to get the help, and she needs to get the hell away from him. So then we see Tandy, she goes and talks to the boyfriend, and she's asking him where Michaela is, because Michaela left the group meeting, and he tells her she never came back. And then he's telling her, she was like, oh, so you fought off the thugs. He was like, yep, sure did. So that's bullshit, because for someone who drools when they sleep and they're passed out drunk, yeah, it's hard to believe that you did that. So then we see her, she's talking to the counselor, asking. So then we see Tandy, she's talking to the counselor, asking if Michaela came back there, because she never went home. And then Tandy and the counselor are getting into it, and then we see a guy named Andre who runs the outreach program. He comes in there and he's talking to Tandy about it. And then he says, well, did you ask her friend that she was staying with? She was like, yeah, Grace, I know where she works at. I asked her. Grace hasn't saw her, so I don't know where she is. He says, well, maybe she could have went to the safe house that I know of. And she's like, okay, maybe. So then we see Tandy and Andre, they're walking in the streets, and Andre's telling Tandy about his story, and how he was a jazz singer, a jazz musician, but he had headaches and he couldn't really play his instrument because of the headaches. Whenever he would blow, he would get a big migraine. But then he found someone that was in more dire need than he was, and that's how he got into helping people. So then he wants to know what her story is. So then Tandy is looking in the street, and then she's like, and it's her dad walking, and she has power. Her powers, they're getting stronger, because we can see the lights starting to flicker on the street, and then a car's tail lights just blow out. I'm like, well, damn, her powers have really gotten stronger over the season. Like, goddamn, Tandy, you are strong as fuck. All right, so we see O'Reilly, and on top of her having a prayer problem, she's a drunk as well. So we see her, she's at the bar, she's getting drunk, she's taking shot after shot, drinking beer. I'm like, well, damn, for a little person your size, you really taking it down, ain't you? So then she gets a phone call, and she ignores it the first time, but then whoever it is calls back again, and this time she answers it. And then we see her back at the club with Tandy and Tyrone when she came there, told them to get the hell out, took the tape recorder, and then she makes a phone call, and she wants to report it, and they ask her, who are you? She says, I'm nobody, and she leaves. So then back at the bar, she's still getting plastered drunk, and she gets a call from New Orleans Police Department, and she ignores the call. And then we see her go out in the street, and she's just walking around, and she starts to she's throwing up in the street. I'm like, ugh, that's nasty. So then there's a puddle of water, and she looks in a puddle of water, and then there's her reflection is talking to her, which is Mayhem. And I'm like, oh, we get Mayhem quickly in this season already. So yeah. So then we see her, she goes back, this is actually Mayhem that goes back to the scene, and she's telling her idea of what happened at the scene, and then she's talking to one guy, and he tells her this name of the dead man. So then we see her, she goes to this home and she's questioning these two women, and they don't want to tell her anything. And she's like, oh, look at this painting. And she rips the painting. And they're like, that painting costs a lot of money. She's like, yeah, it's a lot of money for someone who only makes $60,000 a year. So then, they start to tell her that the guy, he had a business, and it's a salvage yard where he stores vehicles off the record. And she's like, are they stolen? They were like, no, they're not stolen. So then we see her, she goes to this tow yard, and we see Tandy there as well. Okay, so then later in the episode, we see a woman. She was singing, and then they're surrounded by a telephone, I guess like a telephone pole or electric pole, one of those two. And there are photos of missing, black girls and brown girls. And we see Tandy, and Tandy's talking, and we see Andre. He's like, don't worry, I'm not stalking you. And she's like, there's like a dozen girls on there. She's like, where are the cops at? He was like, the cops are not going to come around. Now, if it was you and your mom, if it was you missing and your mom on TV, then the cops will be involved in it. But since those are girls who don't look like you, we just don't get that much coverage. So then, Andre, he gets a phone call, and it's about Michaela. It's the counselor calling him and telling him basically that they found Michaela, and Michaela had overdosed. So then Tandy goes to the hospital, and she apologizes to the counselor, and she says, I just really wanted to help, which you can clearly see that she wants to help. And then the counselor's like, yeah, your mom told me you have a big heart. So then we see Tandy, she's with Michaela, and she touches Michaela, and she's seeing a lot of stuff. She sees this place, and then she sees Michaela in the back of the ambulance, and she's getting shot up. So then her powers, they just flare, and the lights start flickering, just and everything. So then we see Tandy, she goes to this place, and she has it on her phone. And then this is where we saw her at the tow yard, and there's a tow yard full of nothing but ambulances. And then we see O'Reilly there as well, and she's like, that's the guy that kidnapped my friend. So then they go after him. So O'Reilly, she tries to stop him from coming out the gate, and he sees that. So then he turns around and he goes back in Tandy's direction. And Tandy, she gets this about this orb of electricity, and she flings it right at the ambulance, and it blows up, and it ejects him from it. So then we see O'Reilly, she's talking to him, and he's telling her that, there'll be more girls tomorrow. So whatever you do, there's going to be more girls. So she says, you know what? I believe you. But then she kills him. I'm like, wow, damn. How ruthless is that? To kill the man? I mean, okay. So then Tyrone, he's still stuck on this damn symbol. So then Evita shows up, and Evita apologizes to him because she's like, I was not wrong. I'm not apologizing for what I said to you, but I am apologizing because I don't know, what you're going through. So, she apologizes to him about that. And then, he's telling her about how he was in the ambulance and the girl was being kidnapped. And, Evita helps him because he can't really, he's been trying to get back to him. She's like, it's probably your breathing. You need to control your breathing. So then, he does that, and she helps him. And then they teleport to the hospital where Michaela's at. He's like, that's the girl that was in the ambulance. Well, she's like, well, she's in the hospital now, so she's all good. So then she tells him to leave, because the police were there, and she kissed him to keep the police from seeing him. And, he leaves. So he goes to O'Reilly's, and he can hear her in there, and she sounds like she's gagged. So he teleports in there, and she's talking about how they're in danger from her. He's like, who? And she's like, me. So then they teleport to where Tandy is, and then this is where we see O'Reilly and Mayhem face to face. So O'Reilly has her badge. Actually, Mayhem has her badge, and has all of her information, and she could just kind of screw them at any point if she wants to. But that was the episode. Like the video, leave your comments, subscribe to my channel, and I will see you guys later.